Now let's go to Finding Guidance, Neuro Journey. Chrissy Sally, PhD of Courageous Parents Network, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Warm welcome, please.
Good morning, and thank you so much to Scotty for inviting me to be here with all of you. I am thrilled to present some of the resources that we offer at Courageous Parents Network. I'll be using my own laptop, so we have a little bit of a tech switch here. Courageous Parents Network is a national nonprofit organization that was started about 11 years ago by Blythe Lord. She cared for her daughter who had infantile Tay-Sachs disease, which is a rare genetic condition. Blythe's nephew, so her daughter's cousin, was also diagnosed with the condition. And so the family had a unique experience of journeying together and feeling less alone because of it. And that inspired, along with the support of a palliative-minded pediatrician, the creation of Courageous Parents Network. We have resources and programming to support families caring for children with serious health conditions, and we are not a replacement for KCNQ2 Cure. We are a great complement, and we love partnering with patient organizations to deliver additional resources to your families. We have our resources bundled on our website under these three categories, and today I'm going to be speaking with you about Neuro Journey, which is a digital resource we developed specifically for families caring for children with serious neurological conditions. The goal of Neuro Journey is to provide you with anticipatory guidance along the way. What is anticipatory guidance? It is an educational practice that's often delivered by pediatricians in the pediatrician's office that gives a parent a sense of what's to come. And so many of you have experienced this. You go to the pediatrician's office for those early checkups, and conversation is about anticipating a feeding schedule, anticipating when the child might roll over, hearing tests, and a little bit of information about what's to come. And as a parent, you gain some relief by knowing what's to come and reassurance that your child is along the way developmentally, right? Anticipatory guidance is also really useful because if your child doesn't hit that milestone, it could be a trigger for getting more support. However, with families like yours whose children have medical complexity and are on their own developmental journey, there is no great rule book on what is the expectation. And so Courageous Parents Network worked to provide a tool that gives anticipatory guidance to you on the medical and the social and emotional aspects of caring for your child. So we aim to develop a tool that gives you guidance to help you build your child's care team. You can look along the way and anticipate some changes that might occur in your child's life and say to yourself, do we have the people we need on our medical team to support our needs as our child ages? You can receive information to help you understand and make interconnected medical considerations. I'll give an example of this now. My colleague Jennifer Seidman, who is the primary parent author of Neuro Journey, cared for her son Ben with Sanfilippo syndrome for 18 years. And at one point during his journey, they were approached and an orthopedic surgeon recommended a spinal fusion surgery for her son. And she and her husband said, wait a minute, if we do that surgery, what happens to every other body system? How does this affect our day-to-day? Does this affect feeding? And so they called on their palliative care physician to bring together multiple specialties so that they could make a more informed decision. We want to help you build confidence and empower you as parents so that you have a sense of some control along your journey where there is no clear roadmap. You can also use this tool to reflect on your care goals and use it as a communication opportunity with your child's providers. And it also provides you reassurance and consideration of palliative support. And we don't have time today to do a deep dive into how palliative care can help your family, but we are big advocates at Courageous Parents Network for pediatric palliative care. It's often confused with hospice care, but it is not the same thing. Palliative care can be offered at the time of diagnosis, regardless of prognosis, and help you along the way. And I see some nodding heads, which makes me feel very hopeful and optimistic that some of you are having a good experience with palliative care. I'm going to put this slide up again later, but right now, my friend in the back is going to play a brief video that's going to give you a 4-minute introduction to Neuro Journey, and then I am going to do a deeper dive with you after that preliminary overview.
Welcome to Neuro Journey. This educational resource and reference tool is designed for families and clinicians navigating the needs of a child who has a severe neurological impairment, sometimes called SNI. SNI is a phrase used in the medical community to describe a group of conditions or disorders that affect the brain and central nervous system. Signals from the brain control all of the systems in the body. They tell our lungs to breathe, our bowels to move, and our hearts to beat. Signals from the brain to the spinal cord drive our movement, so when the brain is impaired, all bodily systems are affected. There can be physical discomfort, problems with movement and thinking skills, and other medical complications as the condition progresses. Categories of SNI include metabolic neurodegenerative disorders, genetic conditions and syndromes, developmental epileptic encephalopathy and seizure disorders, and brain malformations, infections, and injuries. Every child is different, and the issues that may arise during an SNI journey may be different. Challenges might appear over an expected time frame or one that's unpredictable. For example, some children with SNI are never able to walk, while others walk and then lose that ability over time. Some can feed themselves for a period, and some will always require support. Most experience pain, and some become frustrated and irritable. Some are verbal, and others communicate in unique nonverbal ways. This tool is designed to help you understand what may be happening to your child and to anticipate things that may arise now and in the future. It presents the medical topics you're likely to encounter, and you'll also find perspectives on the emotional and social topics that are part of providing loving care for your child. Neuro Journey uses 4 phases of full life to help you understand the challenges you might face, anticipate the conversations you may have, and prepare for the decisions you may need to make as you determine your goals of care for your child and navigate the illness journey. The phases are adapting to diagnosis, as your family adjusts in the early months following diagnosis or the emergence of issues. Building strengths, to maximize your child's core skills and your family's resiliency for the journey ahead. Adjusting to changes, which involves making decisions and adapting to your child's evolving baseline throughout their journey. Navigating decline, as your child outgrows their brain's ability to manage their bodily systems. Your family may need to adjust their goals in preparation for the end of the journey. The content marked with a heart offers thoughts and perspective from parents and clinicians based on the concepts of palliative care, which focuses on quality of life and includes relief from symptoms and physical and emotional stress. You can see the map all at once, or follow the phases as they occur in your child and family. Some prefer to plan, and the others like to take things as they come. Some topics, especially the medical ones, are more complex and have layers of detail. You can take all of the time you need, exploring each topic as deeply as you like. There is no right or wrong in caring for your child, only what works for your family. The important thing to remember is every child living with an SNI has the potential for a meaningful life with a true arc. Neurojourney.org is an initiative of Courageous Parents Network, a nonprofit organization. It was developed by a team of medical experts, parents, and content editors working closely together to make these difficult topics easier to understand and navigate. This service does not provide medical advice. It is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please see the terms of service and disclaimer for more information.
Thank you. So next up, I'm going to give you an overview of the development of NeuroJourney so that you have confidence in using it for yourself. You'll see here a little timeline. The idea for NeuroJourney actually came about probably 4.5 or 5 years ago now, when there was a team at Cincinnati Children's Hospital that was developing a journey map for families caring for children with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And as they were developing that map, they were looking for parent perspectives and review. And so they contacted Courageous Parents Network and asked our executive director, Blythe Lord, and my colleague Jennifer, who I have already mentioned, to review the map and provide some feedback from the parent perspective. And they did this. But in these conversations with the palliative care physician there, Dr. Rachel Thean-Prioun, they started saying, gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if this sort of thing existed for families of children with SNI, or severe neurologic impairment? And that was the case for both Jennifer and Blythe, whose children fell under that large umbrella. And so they got together with a group called the Live Well Collaborative, which was involved in that Duchenne project. They produce digital health resources. They got some funding, and then they engaged Dr. Julie Hauer. She is a pediatric physician out of Boston Children's Hospital and is a leading expert on severe neurologic impairment. She's written an incredible book. I think the second edition is coming out soon. And so she served as primary physician author on NeuroJourney. They talked about the concepts and came up with a general framework and then started building the content. The content was primarily built by Dr. Hauer and Jennifer, but there were other parent and physician authors, a lot of expert medical reviewers. I can tell you that NeuroJourney went through beta testing multiple times throughout the development, both to focus on the content and the language that we use throughout, but also the user experience. And the beta testing involved anyone who we thought might touch NeuroJourney as a beneficiary or who might recommend it to a family. So we had obviously parents and clinicians reviewing it, but also people like executive directors from patient organizations, people in different stages of the journey, family coordinations, and that sort of thing. And then finally, NeuroJourney was built and launched in November of 2023, and it's become a very popular tool. I think the best way to learn about NeuroJourney is to do a virtual tour, because I could say, why don't you all go home and scroll around yourself, but I'd rather point out some of the essential elements to you live so that you have a deeper introduction. Out on the main page, you already watched the introductory video, and that video is really important. And I deliver this presentation to providers often, and I say, please encourage your families to watch that video because it does something important at the beginning. It teaches you what we mean by SNI, and that really is essentially the concept that whatever is going on throughout your child's body relates ultimately back to the brain or central nervous system. And that concept of the linkage takes time to grasp and to own and to understand. We hear from families that sometimes they care for their child for years and years and years and struggle to make that connection because it's a complex concept. And I also think that a lot of people have fragmented care. You go to the pulmonologist, you go to the endocrinologist, you go to the GI specialist. Complex care clinics are still too far and few between, where it's a one-stop shop. And so people are telling you different things and giving you perspectives relative to their specialty, and not always bringing you back to, hey, mom and dad, the gut isn't working because the brain is not sending the proper signals to the gut to work the way it's supposed to. I'm going to give you an example of this in a moment. NeuroJourney is formatted as over a sense of time, and it is based on the arc of a life. This is a concept that came from Blythe's husband, Charlie, for whom when Cameron was first diagnosed with Tay-Sachs disease, He said her life may not be as long as we'd hoped, but it will have a full and meaningful arc. All lives have a beginning and an end, and then there is everything in between. And we at CPN really believe that all children can have full, meaningful lives, especially with the proper supports. Imposed on this concept of the arc, or 4 phases that your family may proceed through, or as the video said, sometimes it's not linear, sometimes you kind of float, sometimes you jump. But it gives you an idea of the general trend for many children with SNI. A lot of the clinician partners we have are now using this image to have conversations about prognostication with the families that they're supporting. The phases are adapting to diagnosis, building strengths, adjusting to changes, and navigating decline. And this is all language that we beta tested multiple times to find language that we hope is both meaningful and tolerable to read. The peach box with the heart represents a companion. This is a palliative aware voice that travels with you while you use the entire tool. We are hearing from some families that they are looking through all of Neuro Journey, only reading the palliative voice as their intro and entry point into the tool, and then going back and reading some more of the medical anticipatory guidance as a second step. So with that, I'm going to dive into the tool. Neuro Journey is one resource, but we have 2 maps. We have a medical map and a psychosocial map. So here in the medical map, you can see time represented left to right, and then you can see the systems or symptoms you can expect that you'll need to learn about over the course of your child's life, and you can anticipate you'll likely have to make decisions for your child within each of these domains. The gray blocks are chapters that are being written now. Neuro Journey is never stagnant. We have been working on improving this for the last 2 years since it's been launched, so there's always more to come. The navigation throughout the tool is pretty simple. I will orient you to this page, and then you'll have a sense of how all the pages are organized. So we have the topic written at the top as a title, and then we have a small paragraph beneath that with a description that reminds you why we're raising this issue. It reminds you about that connection between that system or symptom and the nervous system. So again, we're talking about the GI system because that's related to the brain. On the left, you can see the list of people who might be helpful to you on your care team for issues that arise within this domain. We have heard from parents using the tool that they, as I mentioned before, are going back to their care teams and saying, hey, would this person be helpful? I want more help. More help is usually good, especially if it's really good help, right? So add on those layers of support. You can get a drop down for a generic definition of what that provider does, but the description below gives you a little more detail about how they could potentially help you with problems in this area. Then we get to greater level of detail. So today we will dive into our motility page. Again, you'll see the formatting is all the same, title, description, the helpers on the left. You'll also see that Neuro Journey is available with audio. We try to people learn in different ways. People like to be on the go, some like to hear, some like to read. So the audio is there available to you. And as you scroll down the page, you'll see in the white background, the anticipatory guidance appearing on the left side of the screen. This is what your child might experience over the course of their life. And on the right side, you'll see that palliative companion voice. Within the descriptions of the anticipatory guidance, there are hyperlinks, which also reflect the interconnectedness of things and will bounce you around to other parts of Neuro Journey when you need more information on that topic. At the bottom of the pages, let's see, we'll go to feeding tubes here. You'll see that in many of the pages, we have links to resources at courageousparentsnetwork.org or external resources if we have vetted them for the purpose of Neuro Journey and to support you on that topic. I want to share an example from the constipation chapter that, again, I'm going to talk about my colleague Jennifer again because she's told me the best stories that help bring this to life, this material life for me. Her son Ben had like many children with Sanfilippo syndrome, diarrhea for a long time, but then eventually developed constipation for a long time. And Jennifer was getting advice all over the place. The pediatrician said give Miralax. The nutritionist prescribed a prune paste, she has called it. And she was also using suppositories to support him. And she was frustrated because they're doing this stuff. Oh, physical therapy, they have ideas about how to get the gut moving with exercises too. So they're trying these things, nothing really helps. The suppository works, but these other things aren't doing much. And she went to her GI doctor and she said, I can see that the BM is so close. Like, why doesn't it come out on its own? And we're doing all this stuff. And he said, and this is Jennifer, like 13 or 14 years into caring for her son, what I mentioned earlier. Jennifer, the brain is not telling the bowels to move, or the gut to move the bowels. That's the problem. So the prune paste and the Miralax don't fix the brain problem, right? And she had this light bulb moment like, oh my gosh, like, so what did she do? Well, she stopped giving him the prune paste. Nobody was like very excited about that in their family happening. And she felt more empowered because she finally understood to give suppositories as much as they needed to so that she could take her other 2 teenage children to the mall. Because as a family, they needed to go out in the world and be able to do things. And that was the choice that they made. And this is why we built Neuro Journey, so that you have a fuller understanding of what's happening, recognizing there are options, learning from other families who have made different kinds of choices, and then figuring out what is going to help your child and family function the best. I will briefly just show you some of the other topics. So for example, we have a section on pulmonology. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia here yesterday had a complex care conference, funny enough. So I was able to attend that before coming here today. And I was meeting with a pulmonologist, and she said, do you have anything to explain to families different types of interventions? Like, yes, we do, on Neuro Journey. So you can come here, you can read through the Palm stuff. Here's a list and description of different types of interventions that might be offered to you, so you become more knowledgeable and equipped over time. I'll point out for you that some of the sections of Neuro Journey have a little table called Present in Some Children. There were some things that we thought would be really important to name, but at this point just don't have an entire page dedicated to them, but we want to name them here. One of the things that we're always working to do is to give you a shared language to use with your care provider. So we do what we can to educate and use the terms so that you can take them back when you have these conversations. So in addition to the medical map, we have the psychosocial map, or the map that has social and emotional topics, and it's formatted just the same way. We call this CPN Lite because this is what we typically do at Courageous Parents Network, and if you go to our main website, courageousparentsnetwork.org, you will find a lot on all of these topics. Neuro Journey was a little departure from our usual because we infused a lot more medical information than we typically provide in our resources. But here you will find education and guidance on a number of the psychosocial topics you might encounter as you're caring for your child. People are also often looking for transition to adulthood resources, so I always point that out specifically because we do have those as well. So, for example, something you may have experienced in your time caregiving is a sense of guilt and regret, or a fear of regrets in the future for the decisions that you're making now. And we tackle these hard topics here for you. We believe strongly that you have to name it to tame it. So we name the things that families tell us they experience as they're caring for these children and offer support and guidance. I'll mention to you, especially if you have friends or you're in groups that are more international, and I know we have some international folks in here, or also local in your communities that would benefit from other languages. Neuro Journey is available in Spanish, French, and Arabic, in addition to English. Arabic was really interesting for us to do as a group of all English-speaking team, but we had the right experts We do not rely on AI to translate our materials. These are all human touched. The information is too important, and there's also some cultural sensitivity to take into account when we translate. I'm really proud to say that Portuguese and Mandarin will be out in the first quarter of 2026. And I mention this because A, it's exciting, but B, this I think says a lot about the success of this resource, because we have had people come to us to offer funding to translate in these languages, which is not always easy to come by. So we're really, really proud of that. I want to mention to you that you can go to the resources tab. The About page is where I started you. At the very bottom of this page is the map that explains the development of NeuroJourney, but you can read more here about the people who were involved and how it was developed. I also want to mention the caregiver worksheet. This was a concept that came to us when I asked a colleague of mine who is a bereaved mother and happens to do caregiver research to take a look at NeuroJourney. And she said, you know, these parents could benefit from having a place to jot down the questions that come up as they're reviewing the document. And I don't know if you'll use this PDF, maybe you'll use the Notes app or something else, but what I hope it triggers for you is that we expect that you will have questions and worries that will arise as you use this tool. And we hope that you use it as a communication opportunity and take these back to your team and address them. I'm going to stop there, I think. I see some nods. I'm going to, unfortunately, I cannot stick around today. I have to get back to travel. But I have put these out on one of the tables that has resources in the front if you want to grab it. And I'm going to put my email address on the screen briefly while I address questions. Please, please, please email me truly anytime. Questions or comments. We love hearing from families. Thank you.
To keep to time, and that was fascinating. Thank you so much. We'll be very brief on questions. Does anybody have a very quick question? I think that was just such a wonderful, thorough presentation. So you'll have an opportunity to pick up those forms. One question for me, is it free?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything we do is free. We also offer free webinars every month, and absolutely.
All right. I love free, and I love that presentation. Thank you very, very much.